Well, the United States has chosen a very desperate path for its future. Instead of showing the world the US is the beacon for a free and open society, our politicians are trying to pass legislation that will result in more censorship, less freedom, and hysteria that distracts our politicians from the real issues affecting America. Just ask yourself one simple question. When was the last time you saw both Republicans and Democrats work so efficiently to pass a bill? The bill to ban TikTok received 352 positive votes to only 65 votes against it. We can't get 352 votes for healthcare, border security, or any real issues affecting the lives of Americans. So when the House moves this quickly, you know something much bigger is going on behind the scenes and it's worth a proper investigation. Every day in America, we are told that TikTok is a national security threat from the Chinese Communist Party. But has anyone stopped to ask the most basic questions of all? Is there a single piece of evidence that shows China's government is gaining access to American citizens' data? How about any proof that China's government is using this data against American citizens? The answer to both of these questions is a resounding no. But of course, you'll never hear that truth admitted by US politicians. Instead, they preach banning TikTok will keep data out of China's hands, which is ludicrous when US data brokers openly sell US citizens' data on open markets. Congress should know this because the CIA and other government agencies are regular customers of data brokers, a fact that has been frequently in the news lately. So in today's video, I'm going to reveal the truth about TikTok and show you the ridiculous hypocrisy of some US politicians who are not only supporting a TikTok ban, but also simultaneously using the app to help them with their re-election campaigns. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up, so let's jump in and reveal the truth. But first, let me reveal a secret on how I wrote the script for today's video. You see, every day I'm watching global events around the world, writing newsletters and scripts for my YouTube videos. My job is stressful, and sometimes I need a mental boost to help me with some clarity. For years I've drank coffee, but I hate that caffeine crashes that come a few hours later. And this is where Magic Mind comes in. Magic Mind is a 2-ounce mental performance shot that instantly gives you mental focus and clarity. I've been using Magic Mind for the past few months, and I have to say, this has been a game changer for me personally. If I have a big project I'm working on, I simply take one shot of Magic Mind, and it gives me incredible focus and clarity for the next 4 to 5 hours. Magic Mind is filled with super ingredients like L-theanine, which is found in matcha. This is nature's time-release caffeine that helps increase focus and attention without the crash. Magic Mind also contains powerful mushrooms like ashwagandha to decrease stress and lion's mane to boost clarity. If you're tired of those afternoon coffee crashes and need an all-natural way to increase your mental clarity, give Magic Mind a try. Simply use my discount code CyrusJ20 at checkout, which gets you 48% off your first subscription for the next 10 days or 20% off a one-time purchase. The best part? There is no risk as Magic Mind offers you a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Now that I'm focused, let's break down the truth the media won't tell you about TikTok. Let's start with the first point that nearly every person supporting this ban states. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter are blocked in China, so if China can block American social media apps, why can't America block Chinese social media apps? This is by far the most common rebuttal to the TikTok ban, and I'll admit it makes logical sense. If China doesn't allow American social media apps in China, why should we allow Chinese apps in America? But the answer is actually quite simple and is the core issue with this entire ordeal. The United States prides itself on being an open and free society. If we go down the same road and start blocking social media platforms and increasing internet censorship, doesn't that directly contradict America's core values? The US preaches to the world that China should change the way the government functions, embrace America's openness and democratic values. But yet, US politicians now want to censor content, violate the Constitution, and attack 170 million Americans' right to free speech. You can't find a better example of being closed off and undemocratic. But it's actually much deeper than that, because it's actually false to state China blocks Facebook and other American platforms. For example, why is Apple and Microsoft allowed to operate inside of China? Even Microsoft's search engine Bing is available in China. The truth is, foreign media companies are allowed to operate in China as long as they adhere to Chinese internet laws. The biggest requirement being that Chinese citizens' data must be stored on servers inside of China. Sounds reasonable, right? Actually, it's the identical requirement for social media platforms operating in the United States. American social media companies like Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram all store user data on servers inside the US. But since they refuse to store Chinese users' data in China, these companies are not allowed to operate inside of mainland China. Of course, you'll never hear this truth admitted in Western media. And like most things in China, it requires some nuance to understand what's really going on. But this is where things get interesting, because for TikTok to operate inside America, it must follow the exact same requirements from the US government and store data inside servers inside the United States. And here is a fun fact that US politicians will never tell you. TikTok has complied with every single request from the US government to operate both legally and ethically inside the United States. 100% of TikTok's US user data is stored on Oracle servers inside of Texas. This is why the TikTok CEO Shou Zi Chew said this groundbreaking statement outside of Capitol Hill last week.
I haven't heard exactly what we've done that's wrong.
Imagine that. The US Congress forces the TikTok CEO to fly all the way to Washington, D.C. to give a testimony, but yet our politicians can't provide a single point as to what TikTok has actually done that's wrong. The simple truth is that US politicians want to ban TikTok because it's from China. To prove my point, just listen to this line of questioning from Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton.
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation
I'm
in
ask-
Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in
Do you
Singapore.
have any other passports from any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm
Okay.
Singaporean.
Let me ask you some.
Apparently, Senator Cotton failed geography class in school despite holding a degree from Harvard. His line of questioning was completely over the top, unprofessional, and let's be honest, completely racist towards Shou Zi Chew, who, if you weren't sure by now, is actually from Singapore and not China. I posted this video on YouTube a few weeks ago, and it has since received over 10 million views, with people around the globe expressing their disbelief in my comment section of how a US senator could act so immature and harass someone like this. But this extreme behavior is now normal for a large portion of US politicians, and it's time to tell the truth. Actions like this makes the United States look incredibly insecure and weak on the international stage. The United States has a confidence problem right now, and the biggest area the US is struggling is politically. Our democracy is quickly descending into chaos and will face the ultimate test for survival with this November's presidential election. Want to know how US citizens feel about the state of our government? Look at this poll from the Pew Research Center, which shows 65% of Americans say they always feel or often feel exhausted when thinking about politics. I'm certainly one of those 65%, and in fact, I'm sure that percentage is even higher now that Trump and Biden are the official nominees for the Republican and Democrat parties. I can confidently say the majority of Americans will agree with me on this point. Neither Trump or Biden is the change we need to see in America. This is reflected in this Gallup poll, which shows US adults' trust in politicians. Gallup has been tracking this for 50 years, and only 44% of Americans have trust in our politicians. A rematch of the 2020 election is literally the last option American voters wanted this November. But once again, our government is distracted on petty issues like banning a social media platform instead of focusing on the difficult issues that affect the future of our nation. But there is much more to the story. And one thing you must always do in America is follow the money. Because when you have an asset like TikTok, that as of right now is a private company, but is probably carrying a valuation of $200 to $300 billion, there is a lot at stake. And the truth is, the United States government doesn't fear TikTok. No. Trust me on this one. Deep down, our politicians know that TikTok isn't a dangerous app at all. They're just jealous and frustrated that a Chinese entrepreneur was able to create the world's hottest social media platform from scratch. In fact, the story of TikTok is actually remarkable, because the platform has literally revolutionized the entire social media industry. Deep down, our politicians don't hate or fear TikTok. They just wish it was an American and are now doing everything in their power to make that dream a reality. Just listen to the exact words of the Select Committee on the CCP.
This bill, again, is not a ban, and it's not really about TikTok. It's a choice. We implore ByteDance to sell TikTok so that its American users can enjoy their dance videos, their bad lip sync, everything else that goes along with TikTok.
The truth finally comes out. US government doesn't want to ban TikTok. They just want to force China into selling this incredibly valuable asset to American investors. I mean, look at the lie that they are trying to sell to the American public. We implore ByteDance to sell TikTok so that Americans can enjoy their dance videos. Newsflash, 170 million Americans are already enjoying TikTok and their dance videos. Forcing TikTok to sell wouldn't enhance or protect that experience. In fact, many TikTok creators fear how the platform would change if it were controlled by an American company.
So how would it change your business if TikTok were owned by an American company instead of a Chinese company?
I believe it would change the dynamics of TikTok. It would change the culture of TikTok. We will be limited to what we can say and limited what we can do, which is against the American way.
We would be limited to what we could say and limited to what we could do. Wow. Quite the testimony from this TikTok entrepreneur. It's quite amazing that TikTok users feel more comfortable with its current Chinese owner than if it were sold to an American firm. But let's explore this a little further, because this is a profound statement for an American to make. Why is it that influencers are showing this loyalty and trust to TikTok? Well, let's go back 1 year ago when the Washington Post broke this exclusive story that Facebook paid GOP firm to malign TikTok. The article goes on to state, employees with the firm Targeted Victory worked to undermine TikTok through a nationwide media and lobbying campaign, portraying the fast-growing app owned by the Beijing-based company ByteDance as a danger to American children and society, according to internal emails shared with the Washington Post. And this is why American citizens are losing trust in American social media platforms, the government, and most importantly, our politicians. In America, you always have to follow the money because greed runs Wall Street, it runs our government, and it runs our politicians. And it didn't take long for a frontrunner to emerge on who will try and buy TikTok.
Well, you know, when I was Treasury Secretary, I chaired CFIUS, and CFIUS approved, and I had President Trump sign an order that TikTok had to be sold. And I continue to believe that. So I think the legislation should pass. It's a great business, and I'm going to put together a group to buy TikTok.
You're trying to buy TikTok?
I am, because this should be owned by U.S. businesses. The issue is all about the technology. This needs to be controlled by U.S.
That is former Treasury Secretary Stevie Mnuchin, who was appointed by former President Donald Trump. Interesting that he wants to be the lead investor to purchase TikTok. I mean, let's just think about this out loud. Trump is now the frontrunner to win the 2024 presidential election. And let's say that Trump wins the election. We'll then have a Trump loyalist controlling the most influential social media app inside America. And once again, this brings me back to my original point. This entire ordeal was a disaster for the free and open society that is supposed to be the backbone of American values. Literally, our core American values are at stake with this potential TikTok ban. But thankfully, not all US politicians have forgotten how our Constitution works. And I want you to listen to the words of Rand Paul, who shares a profound insight.
In America, there are things that protect. You can't just take people's stuff in America. If you have a company, I can't come take Tucker Carlson Network just from you because one of your investors is from China. I have to go to court. I have to prove that somehow you're a Chinese communist and that you're giving data to them. These are all allegations. They may or may not be true, but you can't take someone's company worth billions of dollars without proving it in a court of law. Likewise, you can't take the rights of freedom of speech of 180 million people who want to express themselves. So I think the courts will rule against this. They did twice in the last 4 years in federal court, and they just recently overturned the Montana ban. So I think there's a very good chance this is unconstitutional, but that doesn't seem to be deterring any of my colleagues in the House.
Many of our US politicians have lost their mind with an uncontrollable hatred towards China. Every single thing coming from China is labeled as a national security threat. You know we have reached the level of insanity when coffee machines and garlic are being labeled national security threats from China. I mean, seriously, how uninformed and uneducated are the politicians who are leading this country? They want to ban TikTok because it's owned by China, but do some basic research and even that statement is completely false. 60% of TikTok is owned by US and international investors. 20% is owned by the company's founders. 20% is owned by TikTok employees, including 7,000 US citizens who are employed by TikTok. And don't forget, the CEO of TikTok is from Singapore, not China. So ask yourself one important question. Why do they keep repeating this lie to you? Because if you repeat a lie enough times, people will believe it as truth. Remember how the United States illegally invaded Iraq 20 years ago? That started off as a simple lie from Colin Powell, and escalated to the entire society believing in weapons of mass destruction and a war that cost trillions of dollars and devastated the Middle East region for over 2 decades. Remember, it only takes a single spark to ignite a forest fire that damages millions of acres. But as promised, I'm going to end today's video by revealing the true hypocrisy of the situation. Now that the House has approved the TikTok ban, this bill moves on to the Senate. If the Senate approves it, it will be sent to the president's desk, which Biden has already stated he will support and sign into law. But ironically, at the same time, Joe Biden's re-election campaign just launched a new TikTok channel to help President Biden connect with younger voters. I mean, you seriously can't make up how ridiculous and hypocritical our government is at times. Which one is it? Is TikTok a national security threat or the best platform to connect with Americans under the age of 35? The truth is, it's the latter, and it's also the exact reason why, despite supporting a TikTok ban, Biden chose to also open a TikTok account. Biden's support is plummeting, most especially in the youth, and Donald Trump is now the frontrunner to win the White House this November. Biden's biggest weakness is attracting the vote of Americans under the age of 35, which ironically is the exact age group that uses TikTok to get the majority of their news. Biden's blind support to Israel and the Netanyahu regime, who is unleashing absolute carnage in Gaza, is costing Biden votes, and in my opinion, could be the X factor in helping Donald Trump win the election this November. If Biden wants to turn the tide, his only option is to connect with America's young voters. But the irony here is that they are all on TikTok. Everyone, knowledge is power. And now you know the truth many US government officials won't tell you. They are no different than the sensationalist YouTubers who make anti-China videos every week, brainwashing Americans to fear China. Fear is a powerful emotion. It's why the media uses it to control your thoughts and emotions. But now you know the truth about TikTok. Let's just hope US government officials don't forget how the Constitution works and preserve the fundamental American values before it's too late. Everyone, a huge thank you to Magic Mind for sponsoring today's important video. If you want to improve your mental clarity and focus, order a subscription of Magic Mind today and give it a try. I absolutely love this product, and as you can see, I was pretty fired up in today's video, and it's because I had that mental clarity from Magic Mind. Simply use my code CyrusJ20 at checkout and click the link down below in the description for all the details. Everyone, thank you for your incredible support, and I look forward to seeing you all in our next video soon.